and I have worked maximum. So as in a different capacity in MBDA, in Smart City, as a DM. So and he has a vast knowledge in the field, and most of the legal issues we discuss with him. So I welcome you, sir. I welcome DG Education, Bansidharji, and the two dignitaries, A. Malla Reddy ji and Dr. Bala Kalyan ji. And I'm also welcoming Brijesh Pandey ji, who is joining soon online. And I hope this will be a very interactive session in the light of National Education Policy. So welcome you all.
I invite Dr. Ravi Gupta for a few words.
I welcome the esteemed speakers, Ravinath Raman, Secretary Department of School Education, Government of Uttarakhand, in the training session. We are very honored to have you here. And we have a representation from seniors of officials from various other states, welcoming you all, everyone else. Just to put in the context, that Elets is very focused on governance, but it has very focused on education sector. We have been publishing a magazine called Digital Learning since the year 2005, and this again is the only magazine in India which is focusing on ICT-based innovations in education sector, school education, technical education, and higher education. And we organized the biggest conference on the education sector called World Education Summit, which we have organized in India, Dubai, Bahrain, UK, and Delaware, and also in Thailand, Malaysia, Dhaka, and also in Sri Lanka. So, a deliberation of this session will be published in our digital learning magazine and also projected on all our portals which have millions of viewers across the globe. So with this context, I welcome the distinguished speakers and requesting the Secretary of Service to start the session. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Raviji, Krishnaji. I thank Elets for organizing this Elets third India Transformation Summit in Dehradun. I warmly welcome our PG Education. I also welcome the other dignitaries of the dais, Mr. A. Malla Reddy, Additional Secretary, Department of Higher Education, Telangana, and Dr. Bala Kalyan, Deputy Director Technical, Commissioner of Technical Education, Government of Andhra Pradesh. I also welcome all the esteemed delegates of this session on tech innovation in the education sector and senior officials from the Directorate of Technical Education, Government of Uttarakhand. We have our Director of Secondary Education, Mr. Rakesh Kumar Saab. We also have some senior officials, other senior officials from our SCRT. I also welcome the officials who have come here from the other states, from all of the country. Thank you, Ashish, for setting the tone for this particular panel discussion. As we all know, the new education policy has been issued by the Government of India in 2020, and most of the states have done all the preliminary work on this new education policy. Education, as we all know, is a very important sector. It's one of the most important sector to make our future generation adapt to the coming challenges that they will be facing over this coming 25 years, which we call as the Amrit Kal. The Honorable Prime Minister has also set the tone for development as India at 2047. And particularly this year is very significant as we celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and our 75th year of independence. And Uttarakhand state as such is one of the primary focus areas, focus states for the Government of India also. Uttarakhand being a hill state, a Himalayan state, it has its own challenges, it has its own problems, it has its own issues. We are a state which is very prone to disasters. We have faced a number of disasters. 2013 Kedarnath disaster is a case in point which everybody knows. We have faced several earthquakes. In this scenario, we also know that Uttarakhand, being a Himalayan state, also has very remote locations, very remote areas where schools, particularly running the schools, with the mandate as given by the Right to Education Act, wherein we need schools for a particular area or for a particular segment of population and with a particular reach for the local population. Uttarakhand Education Department has approximately 14,000 schools in the basic education sector and almost 30,000 schools in the secondary education sector. So we have about 27,000 schools, more than 27,000 schools in Uttarakhand. We have about 62,000 teachers and other employees in the education department. So for a small state like Uttarakhand, this is a very big department. Probably this is the biggest department in terms of manpower. And we have about, I think, how many students? About 10.5 lakhs students. So education definitely becomes a very important sector for us. And when we talk of education, technological innovations in the education sector also becomes a very important issue. I have recently, along with my Director General, we have visited two states. We visited Gujarat, Gandhinagar, where we had the good fortune of seeing the Vidya Samiksha Kendra, VSK, which is a very innovation in the sector, and Uttarakhand government also wants to emulate the same practice, the good practice. We have a very young and dynamic and a very energetic minister in our state who is very positive and who wants to implement this at the earliest in Uttarakhand. At the same time, we have one of our panelists from Haryana who was supposed to be in this panel discussion is unfortunately not present. We had also been to Haryana. We interacted with the state government of Haryana and understood their IT innovations, particularly in the transfer policy of Haryana, which is in which they have introduced the technology as innovation, wherein they have a very nicely constructed MIS database of all the teachers, all the students, and all the schools, and the entire transfer, according to the policy, is now digitized, wherein just by click of the button, the entire transfer is done in minutes after a due process which is followed. And as per a survey conducted by the government of Haryana, they say that about 93, it has resulted in about 93% efficiency also and satisfaction among the employees of the education sector in Haryana. So again, that is one of the practice which we would like to emulate in Uttarakhand. Going ahead, I would like to, I'll propose that we have this session wherein I give, say, about 10 minutes to each of the participants here to make their presentations if that is enough. And they will be presenting their innovations done in their particular states. And after that, we'll have another round of comments by the panelists if they have to comment on the presentation. In the meanwhile, if we have one of our panelists, Mr. Brijesh Pandey, is already there. He is not. So if Mr. Brijesh Pandey joins us, incidentally, he is my batchmate. He is also Secretary School Education, Government of Tripura. If he can join us, then we can have one more panelist. Otherwise, we'll then throw the floor open for questions or any other suggestions or any valuable suggestions any of the delegates would also want to pitch in. So I first invite Mr. Banshidhar Tiwari, our DG of Education, Government of Uttarakhand, to make a small presentation on a technological innovation which we have done in the state of Uttarakhand, that is on the virtual classes. We are providing virtual classes to almost 500 schools through a very robust mechanism which is connected to the satellite communication. And it has been particularly useful in the times of COVID when we couldn't have the schools, when all the schools were closed. So the virtual classrooms were very much useful, not only for the education sector but also for the other branches, particularly for the revenue department, revenue administration, police department, and other the health department. And it is also been found to be very useful in times of disasters because it's a very good mode of communication. We will make a small presentation on the virtual classes, and also Bashidharji will talk about some of the innovative steps which have been taken by the state government of Uttarakhand, particularly in the technological sector.
Sir, thank you, sir. इस जो हमारा सेशन है, सूचना तकनीक का शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में क्या उपयोग हो सकता है, क्या योगदान हो सकता है, क्या हम कर रहे हैं, क्या हम बेहतर कर सकते हैं, इसको लेकर के उत्तराखंड शिक्षा विभाग में एक तो हमारा वर्चुअल क्लास है जो हम 4 स्टूडियो से 500 स्कूल कवर करते हैं। दूसरा हमारा स्मार्ट क्लास रूम्स का है, इसमें एक स्मार्ट पैनल है, वो ब्लैक बोर्ड की तरह काम करता है और ऑडियो विजुअल उसमें कंटेंट भी पड़े, वो लगभग 1000 स्कूलों में हम लगा चुके हैं। और तीसरा हमने एक टच पोर्टल डेवलप किया है जो हमारे छात्रों के असेसमेंट के लिए, कुछ हमारे जैसा कि सर ने कहा पाइपलाइन में है जिसको बहुत जल्दी हम लोग उसकी धरातल को उतारने वाले हैं। सबसे पहले मैं वर्चुअल क्लासरूम्स के बारे में बताऊंगा। 2018-19 में हमारे शिक्षा विभाग में जो हमारा सेकेंडरी लेवल है उसमें 20% और जो सीनियर सेकेंडरी लेवल है उसमें 33%।
And you can have the chairs from side पर रखते ना, so that everybody can see the presentation.
जैसा मैंने बताया कि हमारे सेकेंडरी लेवल और सीनियर सेकेंडरी लेवल पे हमारी 33% जो पोस्ट थी वैकेंट थी, और जो हमारी प्रोसीजर है, जो पोस्ट हम क्रिएट करते हैं, जो पोस्टिंग करते हैं, जो रिक्रूटमेंट प्रोसेस है, वो कई बार कई स्तरों पर लंबित हो जाती है, कभी माननीय न्यायालय में, कभी कैट में, उसमें हो जाता है, लंबा चलता है। तो 2018-19 में हमारे पास ये भारत सरकार का पैसा पड़ा हुआ था, तो उसमें इसको वर्चुअल क्लासेज हमारी स्थापित हुई। उसमें 4 स्टूडियो हमारे राजीव गांधी नवोदय विद्यालय है, उसमें 4 स्टूडियो बनाएंगे और 500 स्कूल 500 स्कूल बी सेट के थ्रू जुड़े हुए हैं। ये टू वे कम्युनिकेशन होता है हमारा इसके साथ, जो टीचर लेक्चर डिलीवरी करते हैं तो बच्चे उसमें ट्रांसलेशन भी कर सकते हैं। अब तक हमारे इसमें करीब 6000 लाइव लेक्चर हो चुके हैं और 2 से 2.5 लाख तक बच्चे हमारे से जुड़ करके इसमें लाभ ले चुके हैं। अभी आज भी हम गए थे, समर कैंप हमारा चल रहा है, उसमें गर्मियों की छुट्टियां हैं, तो आजकल हमने समर कैंप उसमें चला रखा है। तो अलग अलग जैसे अभी एक दिन हमने कार्यक्रम किया था प्रीतम बर्दवान यहाँ जाकर समर कैंप पर, इसलिए उनको बुलाया था। एक हमारे शिक्षक हैं, बहुत अच्छी बच्चों को हैंड राइटिंग कैसे सुधारे वो बताते हैं। उस स्कूल के सारे बच्चों की हैंड राइटिंग बहुत अच्छी है, तो हमारे बहुत बेहतरीन अनमोल रतन जिसको कहते हैं हमारे शिक्षा विभाग हैं, उनको भी हमने इसमें लगाया हुआ है। और 3 दिन से मैं फीडबैक ले रहा था, बच्चों ने अपनी हैंड राइटिंग को इम्प्रूवमेंट करने का काम भी शुरू कर दिया। उनका भी रोज लेक्चर होता है। सोनल वर्मा हमारी भरतनाट्यम की है, उनको प्लस हमारा जो योग का है, मतलब कई तरह के हैंडीक्राफ्ट है, पेंटिंग है, हैंड राइटिंग है, वो हमारा पूरा 10 दिन का समर कैंप चल रहा है। लगभग 10,000 बच्चे इसमें रोज जुड़ रहे हैं। और सबसे अच्छी बात क्या है कि उनके साथ उनके गार्जियंस भी आ रहे हैं, तो बहुत बेहतरीन उपयोग हम लोग वर्चुअल क्लासेस का कर रहे हैं। और अभी सर के सजेशन ने निर्देश दिया था हम लोगों को कि इनकी कैरियर काउंसलिंग भी की जाए सीए और किड्स के लिए, उसका भी हम लोगों ने प्लान किया है। इसके थ्रू जो 500 स्कूल्स बने उनको हम लोग इससे जोड़ेंगे। और दूसरी बात क्या है कि इसका जो हमने फीडबैक लिया था अभी कुछ दिनों पहले, तो लगभग हमारे सारे जो मतलब इस साइड के थ्रू टेक्निकल कहीं कोई दिक्कत नहीं आती है। अगर कोई दिक्कत आती भी है तो बैटरी की या बिजली की या उस तरह की दिक्कत आती है, क्योंकि इसमें इंटरनेट है नहीं। इंटरनेट नहीं है तो फिर सैटेलाइट के थ्रू इसमें कोई ऐसा दिक्कत आती नहीं। तीसरा, अगर मान लीजिए कभी कोई जरूरत न पड़े, ईश्वर न करे, अगर कभी कोई आपदा की स्थिति आती है और हमारे टेलीफोन लाइनें या इंटरनेट में डिस्कनेक्ट होता है, उस समय ये बहुत हमारे लिए उपयोगी साबित होगा, क्योंकि 500 स्कूल हमारे सारे जिलों में है, तो वहाँ पे हम कम्युनिकेशन कर सकते हैं, इसका लाभ उठा सकते हैं। ये बहुत ही बेहतरीन इसका उपयोग हो रहा है। हमारा दूसरा जो मैंने बताया कि वर्चुअल क्लासेज, जो हर स्कूल में एक चार स्कूल हमने दो क्लास इस तरह लगाई हुई 65 इंच का स्मार्ट डैश बोर्ड है। इसको हम स्मार्ट बोर्ड की तरह यूज कर सकते हैं, उसमें लिख भी सकते हैं, उसको शेयर भी कर सकते हैं। और 6 to 12 जो हमारा कंटेंट है सीबीएसई का, ये पूरा इसमें ऑडियो विजुअल है। किसी टॉपिक को हम देख सकते हैं, उसको पास कर सकते हैं, बच्चों से डिस्कशन कर सकते हैं। और इसकी जो फोटोग्राफ्स है, जो वीडियो है, बहुत ही अट्रैक्टिव है और बच्चों के लिए बहुत ही ज्यादा यूजफुल है, बहुत अच्छे से उन्होंने बनाया है। और निश्चित रूप से देखिए, जब हम कोई टेक्स्ट बुक पे कोई चीज पढ़ाते हैं और उसी चीज को जब हम ऑडियो विजुअल फॉर्म में अपने बच्चों को दिखाते हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं उसका एक अट्रैक्शन होता है, आकर्षित करते हैं और आकर्षक होता है और बच्चों को सीखने में बहुत ज्यादा मदद मिलती है। ये बहुत ही बेहतरीन हमारे बच्चों की हो रहा है। 1000 स्कूलों में हम लगा चुके हैं, अभी हम करीब 800 स्कूलों में इसको लगाने जा रहे हैं नए साल में। तो बहुत ही हमारे लिए उपयोगी हो रहा है। तीसरा जो मैंने बताया कि जो हमारा टच पोर्टल है, इसके लिए क्या है कि छात्रों को जो हम पढ़ाते हैं असेसमेंट उसका एक बड़ा रोल होता है कि उसका लर्निंग आउटकम क्या है, उसने कितना सीखा। उसके लिए एनआईसी के सहयोग से टच पोर्टल हम लोगों ने विकसित किया हुआ है, आप पूरा लीजिएगा। टच पोर्टल के माध्यम से हम सारे बच्चों को उसमें एंट्री कर रहे हैं, उसमें पूरा डेटाबेस तैयार कर रहे हैं, उसमें उनकी ट्रैकिंग भी कर रहे हैं कि उसमें जो हमारे टॉपिक्स हैं, जो उसने पढ़ा, उसका जो हमने असेसमेंट किया, उसका लर्निंग आउटकम क्या रहा, उसकी कैश हैंडलिंग करते हैं। फिर उसको टीचर्स को और जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनको मेंटरिंग करते हैं। और इसको हमारा नेक्स्ट लेवल तक ले जाने का है कि अगर कोई ड्रॉप आउट होता है, कोई बच्चा कहीं जा रहा है और किसी दूसरे स्कूल में जा रहा है या पढ़ाई छोड़ रहा है, उसको भी हम ट्रैक कर सकते हैं। उसने अगर पढ़ाई छोड़ी तो क्यों छोड़ी, अगर उसको उसको हम उसको चेक कर सकते हैं। तो जैसा कि सर ने कहा था कि गुजरात में देखा और उसका प्रेजेंटेशन भी हम लेके जा रहे हैं। समझ गया सर, तो जो गुजरात का देखा, फ्यूचर में हम करने जा रहे हैं, उनका असेसमेंट का वो पूरा एक डेटाबेस तैयार किया बच्चों का। उसमें पहले उनसे वो लिखवाते हैं, फिर उसका जो क्यूआर कोड डेवलप करते हैं मार्कशीट पे, फिर उसका कितनी उसमें मार्क्स आते हैं कि उसको एक डेटा सेंटर भेजते हैं, पूरा एनालिसिस की जाती है किस सब्जेक्ट में, किस टॉपिक पर बच्चे ने कितना मार्क्स अटेन किया, कितना छोड़ा, कितनी गैप एनालिसिस है। उससे हर स्कूल की, हर बच्चे की क्लास वाइज, सब्जेक्ट वाइज, अगर कोई स्ट्रेंथ है तो भी, वीकनेस है तो भी, फिर क्योंकि डेटा स्टेट लेवल पे इकट्ठा होता है, तो फिर हम ब्लॉक को भी आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं। किसी ब्लॉक में कौन सब्जेक्ट कमजोर है, किस जिले में कौन सब्जेक्ट कमजोर है, हमें किस जिले को फोकस करना है, किस ब्लॉक को फोकस करना है, किस टीचर को फोकस करना है, किस स्टूडेंट को फोकस करना है। तो आने वाले समय में निश्चित रूप से देखिए, जो सूचना प्रौद्योगिकी है, हम बेहतर शिक्षा, गुणवत्तापूर्ण शिक्षा और गैप फाइंडिंग के लिए निश्चित रूप से जो हम लोग थोड़ा पीछे रही है इस आईटी टेक्नोलॉजी के रिवोल्यूशन से, उनके प्रयोग से बेहतर करने की कोशिश करेंगे।
Thank you, Bachita ji. In a nutshell, as Bachita ji was telling, we have used this virtual classes for training through virtual mode, and overall 65,000 plus elementary and secondary teachers have been oriented or trained using these virtual classes. Similarly, we have used this virtual classes for orientation of 25,000 plus teachers on bridge courses, especially developed to mitigate learning loss during the COVID pandemic. Similarly, orientation of 30,000 plus teachers on Anandam curriculum to develop higher order life skills and socio-emotional feelings in students have been used. In service specific training, service subject specific training, 10,000 plus teachers of secondary and senior secondary school teachers have been trained using these virtual classes. And teachers were also oriented on the PM e-Vidya during the COVID lockdown in 2020-21. And in addition to this, training and orientation of 7,000 plus education officers, school heads, ministerial staff has also been done, particularly on school leadership development, management and financial issues. Similarly, as Bashir has said, we want to use this in a big way for the coaching of students, particularly those who are in the senior secondary level for IITs, NEET and the other entrance examinations. And such coaching of students for medical engineering exams have been done for more than 10,000 plus students so far. And we have also used this virtual studio for state and national level Kala Utsav competition. So this is very useful for us, and we want to continue using it. And maybe, as Rachida ji has said, it can also be very useful for other departments also, particularly in times of emergency. Now, may I invite Mr. A. Malla Reddy, Additional Secretary, Department of Higher Education, Government of Telangana.
Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate Elets Economic Area and the Department of Government for organizing this type of acquisition, which will immensely enhance your capacity. And particularly, they have to be and feel proud and feel privileged to be part of this session. Actually, government of Telangana, I proudly say that government of Telangana is far advanced. Comparing to the target set by NEP 2020. For example, technology or education technology innovative part of this thing. We have already started technology skills and knowledge center TSKCs. The department has established this is beyond out of box program. The students of government degree college beyond regular curriculum. This thing imparts this thing skills helps create employability skills to students and we have some MOUs with different, including IIT Mumbai, to impart skills to student community. Also, entrepreneurial development cell is there in our government. This is promoting entrepreneurship culture among students. Then maybe in future not crave for jobs. They may become employers. Same at the same time, new curriculum to impart the skills and employability skills among the students. We have designed such a courses and all universities we are recently from within 2019-20. Next. Next. As far as adaptation of technology to the education sector is concerned, we are some. This we are degree online services to Telangana. Those this is very some almost 2016, 17 onwards we are implementing this scheme. This is very arbitrary admission process. Student can sit in his home or place at his convenience, and with the help of cell phone also he can apply for courses online in all degree colleges, in all universities. And he can change the options also. He can tell he get his course tax. And second one is e-office. E-office method is almost applied and we are implementing in the education sector. Next, biometric attendance. We are implementing biometric attendance to secure the attendance and project university. Next, college admission administration and information management system is also online portal. Fifth, next item is MOOCs, mass online courses, virtual classes. This thing also we are already set up this program in 99 degree college. The this thing. The department also offering courses on online courses. So this will immensely help in this thing pandemic time, and we our students are not lag behind this thing. Next, as far as is plus two is concerned, this from academic year 2020 to 23, we are introducing new courses in plus two level. 10th class is the basic qualification. You can see the courses: cyber physical system security, cloud computing, biodata analysis, big data analysis, sorry, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Next, electronic stream, electronics and video engineering, biomedical engineering, and embedded system technician. This will help when a student come out of the college. He is equipped with one skill, so that he can be used for he can get employment at least. The NEP, the Atma, the very yes, target of NEP is to at least student come out of college should be equipped with one skill, at least not master, jack of all master, nothing, not like that. He should be equipped with one skill, so that he will sustain, he will useful to the society. He will not wait for government job. He will not get it to be frustrated with lot of degrees in his hand. That is the we are. I probably say that our government is already in tune with NEP 2020. We are in advanced position to prepare community to reach the targets of NEP 2020. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. I now invite Dr. Bala Kalyan, Deputy Director Technical, Commissionerate of Technical Education, Government of Andhra Pradesh.
Respected and other respected speakers on the dais. Delegates from different parts of the country, the organizers of this summit. Good morning to everybody. First of all, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to Elets Media Private Limited and the IT department, government of Uttarakhand, and other supporting partners for organizing this grand event. Basically, I am a faculty member in the government polytechnic. 3.5 years back, I became the deputy director. Actually, the mic should not be given to the faculty members because now they will strict and they will prolong the session which was allocated to that time. So now maybe the time is around 12:30. I don't know to what extent I speak, and I don't know at what time I end the session. However, one important thing that what the government of AP is implementing with respect to skill, that I need to present out here. So today morning, I received an SMS from the organizers to answer these two questions. These are very important questions. I don't know who has coined these questions. One is, how is the government of AP encouraging the skill development entrepreneurship. And what is your foresee the future of the higher education with respect to national education policy? Now, my presentation is confined to higher education and technical education only. Actually, before coming over here, on 5 themes I have prepared. I don't know which theme finally they will ask me. And today morning only it has been finalized. So these two are interlinked, and while at the end of my presentation I will sum up and I will answer these two questions. So India is the largest country, and as far as higher education is concerned, we, we are in third place after China and the States of America. India is always be a land of scholars and learners since the ancient times. And the entire world is now looking at China and India for innovation and workforce that these are having. Out of these two, we are playing very prominent role because of our communication skills, apart from China. So now though we are producing very good and prominent graduates from different universities, and still we are facing some challenges in the higher learning education institutions. So basically, those are low student enrollment ratio. So whether it is a government institution or a private institution, whether the admissions are full of its intake, that we need to analyze. No. So whether I am confined to higher education. If you take engineering colleges, whether in AB there are 226 private engineering colleges and 25 government university colleges are there. Whether all the seats are being filled, what is happening in the Uttarakhand engineering colleges, government as well as private universities and private colleges, and that we need to analyze, because no, the governments or the private management incurs so much of cost towards establishment of an institution, higher learning institutions. Unless they get a full intake, they will not cross that break-even point. So that is one important point we need to discuss. And second one is, many of the institutions are having inadequate infrastructure facilities, especially buildings and laboratories and workshops with respect to higher education, laboratories and workshops. And there are large vacancies in the faculty, government as well as private managements are unable to fill up all the faculty positions as per the ACP and the UGC norms because of financial constraints. And the outmoded teaching methods that what we are implementing. Because of COVID, we have innovated many teaching methodologies. Okay. In that way, we need to extend our sincere thanks to the COVID also. Because no, from the crisis only, we will gain so much of knowledge. And because that crisis will teach us how to stand firm. Lack of optimum governance and the leadership as well as government concern mainly, because now the institution will be established, government institutions will be established one particular locations, whether we are monitoring properly, all the classwork, all the classes are running continuously from 9:30 to 4 o'clock, whether there is any governance, whether the administrative authorities are looking at all those things, that is again a challenge for us. And in these higher learning institutions, we are not having proper research work and the facilities for the research. So I have done my PhD at IIT Surat in mining engineering department. Though it is a national level prestigious institution, mining engineering department do not have research-oriented equipment and machinery. So, if that is the fate of the national prestigious institution, what should be the institute that belong to a private management and a local university? And finally, we don't have, because all these things due to the lack of funds, finally narrow domains. We don't have much domain to extend our technical education and higher education to various domains because we are not at all linking to other domains. And next is the accreditation is like a problematic because now if we take MBA accreditation or NAC or any NIR of that, there are so many stringent rules and the documentation we need to present, we need to follow. And many of the institutions, higher learning institutions are not able to fulfill those requirements. That is one challenge we are now facing. And finally, the last important is lacking of the skill facilities. And how these things, initially we need to focus on enrollment. Total, there are two issues we need to focus on is enrollment ratio and second one is the total higher level education is meant for giving an employment opportunity to a student. School education is entirely different. Therefore, there is a great pressure on the part of the higher education authorities who are running because they need to show the employment opportunity. The outcome of any engineering college or any degree college or any higher learning institute, that the outcome is only one that a student, a graduate from that particular university should have to get one job, not only in that particular state, maybe within India, maybe outside. That is the final outcome. Therefore, the policy makers, the administrators should have to focus on those two only. One is enrollment, and second one is we don't know what is the enrollment ratio of the school. We don't know what is different states varies. So, what are what are the measures to improve? Because these two are very important components we need to concentrate. What are the measures we need to take? To improve the enrollment ratio, incentives for the students like fees reimbursement, scholarships, and awards. Okay. So prior to 2008, what has happened in the AP, if with respect to engineering education, I will give it a small example. Prior to that, most of the students have used to gone to Karnataka and Tamil Nadu to pursue BTech in private engineering colleges. So as soon as the government has started a particular scheme like a post-metric scholarship scheme. So from after 10th onwards, up to the level of degree, the student will be getting complete fees reimbursement, whether it is 30,000, 40,000, 3,000, or 75,000. Whether that particular student is pursuing in government degree college or government engineering college or private engineering college, irrespective of the type of the institution that he is studying. The government is reimbursing the entire fee. So in 2019 also, the Honorable Chief Minister has again resigned that particular orders which were prevailing. The full reimbursement concept has been right. So complete reimbursement, and finally, many of these scholarships, like for border roles, borders, hospitals also, we are giving so many scholarships. And also, finally, uh, in order to improve the enrollment, we need to recruit the faculty, and also the faculty, the quality of the teacher has also to be increased, and also for each and every degree courses or engineering courses, education is very much essential. So after 2008, we know this year the percentage of admissions in the private engineering colleges is 75%. In government engineering colleges, it is 89% in AP because of these two. And we need to improve the employment of the higher education students once he becomes a scholar taking the degree course. So what type of, because now we need to change and we need to upgrade our technical education or higher education system. So industry, in order to improve the employment opportunities, we need to produce the industry required job ready graduate we need to produce. Therefore, we need to ask the industry people what type of graduates you require. So similarly, we need to restructure these courses, whatever courses that we are having now, we need to restructure a marketable and employable courses are to be, as per the new education policy, multidisciplinary, multidimensional, multi-exit courses are to be started. And finally, one important thing, a component of skilling has to be added to the conventional education system that is very much essential. And finally, industry connect is very much for an institute. Industry connect is very much essential. So, so what should be the final way forward for this present higher education? The only way forward is to upgrade the quality of education to global standards. That is very much important. So our standard should be global standards only. So whatever the existing education system that should be updated, just we are now in A2, we are adding the concept of skill, a flavor of the skill to the existing conventional system. Okay. So these are some of the important reasons to implement that, because we need, if we need the flavor of the skill component, automatically the creativity of the student will be increased, the critical thinking of the student will be increased, and he know directly he will be persons who are working in the industry, and he is going to handle the equipment which they are running his own. Finally, the problem solving techniques will be increased. That is very much important. And finally, when we are exposed to this type of skilling, then automatically the written and the communication skills will be increased. Finally, leadership quality, which is very much essential. Right? Now, the first question answer for this: what whether the government of AP encouraging the skill development in in Andhra in our state? Yeah. So initially in the 2019 two components, which two issues which I have mentioned earlier, that enrollment with respect to the schemes we are in place, with respect to employment, a separate act has been enacted. AP Employment of Local Candidates in Industry Practice Act 2019. So that act itself is, the title of the act itself is telling that, so we are going to employ, recruit the local candidates in respect to industries. That is very important. So in Government of India, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship has been created by Prime Minister Narendra Modi garu. And in the same manner, Department of Skill Development Training, a new department is created in the year 2019. In that particular newly created secretary department, Department of Technical Education, Department of Employment and Training, AP States Skill Development Corporation, Society for Employment Generation and Enterprise Development at AP CDAP, National Academy of Construction. Many more departments have conversed and coming together. A secretary department of skill development and training has been created. So finally, what is the intention of the government is like this. Finally, the aspiration brand like AP skill, creating a recognition to AP youth at national level as well as the global level. So now we are considering the girl enrollment ratio also as per the national education policy. And finally, with this skill cascading skill ecosystem, finally a global employer finally need to come to AP for the candidates. And finally, AP must be known for its innovation in the world of skill development. So what is this skill cascading system? A three layer architecture has been designed. A skill hub, a skill college, and a skill university. Now it is already government has issued orders to implement. We are working on it. Shortly, we are implementing these three. So what is the skill hub? There are 175 assembly constituencies in Andhra Pradesh. Each assembly constituency, there should be one integrated complex consist of one government polytechnic, one government IDI, one skill development center, where the students will join to pursue their short-term courses in NSQ of level 1 to 5. So this is lower level. So now we are working to combine, we are constructing a polytechnic and ITA and skill development in one particular location. The estimates are going on. So that is at the assembly constraints level. So lower level courses are we are offering in that particular this thing. So why that integrated complex? Because many of the issues, many of the laboratories, many of the things can be shareable. Right? So at the parliament constituency level, there are 25 constituencies in the AP. In the constituency level, there will be one skill college offering courses and NSQF more between the 6 and 9. Finally, the AP should have one skill university offering catering the needs to these skill colleges and skill. Okay, sir. Yes, yes. Right. So just I have shown only whatever I want to tell already I have told, and this is a flow diagram how skill will be given. So each of the main point here noted is that each skill hub comprising of ITA, polytechnic, and skill development center should have to be connected to the industry for collaboration, for sharing of the resources and the training. Right. So finally, skill hub will give the lower level of offers, lower level of. So finally, how the student, whether he should have to join in the skill hub, whether the student will be joining in the skill college, when whether the student will be again joining in the skill university, how we should have to give admission in each of its kind. So this is the flow diagram of the student, and finally the conclusion is that the higher learning institution in India, should be equipped with very good infrastructure facilities, and the students should be motivated. The faculty, there should not be any lapses in the faculty. The quality of the faculty should be increased. The institution must be having an accreditation as a quality assurance. The answer to the first question. Future of higher education. The future of the higher education depends on my final conclusion. And they should not depend on the government for funding, and the internal revenue generated schemes and courses are to be run, and the department or university or the institution should have to earn their IRG, internal revenue, from their knowledge and from their workshops and laboratories for sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kalyan. We are now joined online by Mr. Brajesh Pandey, who is the Secretary for Department of School Education, Government of Tripura. I welcome Mr. Brajesh Pandey to the session, and I request him to kindly put in his comments on the role of technological innovations in the education sector. Let me brief because will also be addressed by Shri Rakesh Agrawal ji, Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, who is due to address this session at 12:45. Rajesh. In the meantime, I can just throw the floor open and request the participating delegates if they have any questions. We have had a good session so far. The government of Uttarakhand has given an example of how technological innovation has been used in the education, school education sector for improving the reach of education to the ground level. The government of Telangana has shown how institutionally they have created the right atmosphere in both the fields of intermediate education as well as higher education. Whereas the delegate, uh, the esteemed delegate from Andhra Pradesh, government of Andhra Pradesh, has dealt upon the issues, particularly in higher and technical education, and also come up with some of the solutions for those issues and what steps the government of Andhra Pradesh has taken in terms of institutional setup to address those issues. So while we are trying to connect to Mr. Brijesh Pandey, I request the delegates, the floor is open. If you want to raise any questions to the panelists, you can please do so.
Sir, I have a question addressed to the government of Uttarakhand. In fact, I would like to know that since we were talking about innovations during the pandemic, how does the government plan to continue after the pandemic with all these innovations? What is your own plan ahead? What are you planning? So now that COVID is like towards the end, how do you plan to take this ahead?
देखिए कोविड के समय में भी मैं बताना उसमें छूट गया था जो हमारी ये वर्चुअल क्लास की लैब्स है ना 4 लैब्स जहाँ से हम क्लास चलती है हमारी वीडियो होता है तो कोविड के टाइम में जो वीडियो हमने बनाया उसको यूट्यूब पे अपलोड किया और दूरदर्शन का हमारा एक ज्ञानदीप कार्यक्रम चला उस वीडियो को हमने दूरदर्शन के माध्यम से भी रिलीज किया था फिर जब स्कूल खुल गए थे तो उसको ज्ञानदीप को बंद कर दिया गया था लेकिन वर्चुअल क्लासेज अभी भी हमारी चल रही हैं और उसको हमने चूंकि इस बीच हमारे टीचर्स आ गए थे उनका अपॉइंटमेंट हो गया था लेकिन वो 500 स्कूल्स जो हैं उनको हमने ऐसे मैथ किया है कि टाइमिंग हमने उसकी सब्जेक्ट वाइज फिक्स कर दिया है मान लीजिए जैसे मैथ में हमने 10 से 11 की जो टाइमिंग है तो उन 500 स्कूल्स में जहाँ जहाँ मैथ के टीचर नहीं है वो सारे 10 से 11 लॉगिन करते हैं ऐसे फिजिक्स में हमने टाइम स्टार्ट दे दिया तो जिन जिन स्कूल्स में फिजिक्स के टीचर्स नहीं वो सारे उस टाइम लॉगिन करते हैं जैसा मैंने अभी बताया कि गर्मी की छुट्टियां लेकिन हमारा समर कैंप वहाँ से चल रहा है तो आगे आगे रहेंगे स्मार्ट क्लास की भी हम लोग बढ़ा रहे हैं और आईसीटी लैब्स भी हम लोग स्टैब्लिश करने वाले हैं और जैसा मैंने सर ने बताया जो गुजरात और ट्रांसफर का हमारा है ट्रांसफर का पूरा ऑनलाइन करने वाले हैं तो निश्चित रूप से जो इसको आगे बढ़ाने है और लगातार चलाना है
हेलो सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि मैं यहाँ से जब ट्रैवल करता हूँ डाउन करता हूँ रोज रुड़की के लिए तो रास्ते में ट्राइब्स एरिया पड़ता है सर तो जनरली मैं ट्राइब्स में जो बच्चे हैं मैं मिलता रहता हूँ उनसे रास्ते में मिलता हूँ पूछता हूँ कि आप स्कूल जाते हो क्या तो वो हमेशा ही बोलते हैं कि स्कूल की सुविधा तो नहीं है हमारे यहाँ तो सर क्या आप इस तरीके के जो ट्राइब्स में जो बच्चे रहते हैं उनके लिए कुछ हो सकता है करेंगे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया कुछ कर रही है
देखिए आपको बताऊं, जो आपको पता है मोहन का जो इलाका है, आप देखिए ना, जैसे ही मोहन से आप नीचे उतरते हैं वहीं पे प्राइमरी स्कूल है, जो नीचे गुजरों की बस्ती है, बिल्कुल उससे लगा हुआ है 2 स्कूल्स है। तो ऐसा नहीं वहाँ स्कूल नहीं है, 2 स्कूल वहाँ है। वैसे ही हमारे उत्तराखंड साइड में भी है, ठीक है। दूसरा ओपन फॉर ऑल है, कोई भी कभी भी, चाहे यूपी हो चाहे उत्तराखंड है, वो एडमिशन ले सकता है। अगर वो चाहते हैं तो मुझे लगता नहीं कोई मना करेगा।
बट सर कनेक्टिविटी का प्रॉब्लम है ना सर। अगर मोहन से और देहरादून के बीच में डिस्टेंस देखेंगे तो काफी डिस्टेंस है, तो अगर वहां से बच्चे अगर वहां एडमिशन लेने के लिए जाएंगे, उनके पास ट्रांसपोर्टेशन
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ ना, जो मोहन का है स्कूल, यूपी के 2 स्कूल वहीं पर है। आप देखिएगा, आप जब जाएंगे ना लेफ्ट साइड में देखिएगा, यूपी के 2 स्कूल, प्राइमरी स्कूल वहीं पर है। जो नीचे हमारे गुर्जर रहते हैं ना, अपन गुर्जर, उनसे बस्ती से लगा हुआ स्कूल वहाँ पर है। तो बिल्कुल उनके लिए रिचेबल अगर जाना चाहें जा सकते हैं।
Thank you. We are getting late. First Secretary, Government of India has already joined online, so I think we will continue with the question and answer session later on. Before that, our Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Shri Pushkar Singh Dhami ji, he was not able to come yesterday, and also today he is in Delhi because of the presidential nomination. He, because of his kindness and his interest in this conference, he has sent us a message and the welcome address to all the delegates who have come from the different part of the country. माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने जो मैसेज भेजा है, मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का वो संदेश जो है सभी को सुनाने का कष्ट करें।
नमस्कार। इलेट्स इंडिया ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन समिट के तीसरे संस्करण में देश भर से आए हुए समस्त अधिकारीगण, उद्योग जगत के सभी प्रमुख जन और बुद्धिजीवियों का देवभूमि उत्तराखंड में अभिनंदन है। मैं उत्तराखंड आईटी विभाग, आईटीडीटी, देहरादून स्मार्ट सिटी लिमिटेड और इलेट्स टेक्नो मीडिया को इस कार्यक्रम के आयोजन की बधाई देता हूँ। पूरे भारतवर्ष के विभिन्न राज्यों से आए हुए अधिकारीगण, उद्योग जगत एवं बुद्धिजीवी इसमें सम्मिलित हुए हैं, जो इस 2 दिवसीय समिट में अपने विचारों का आदान प्रदान करेंगे एवं एक सशक्त भारत, आत्मनिर्भर भारत, समृद्ध भारत, एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत की परिकल्पना को पूर्ण करने के लिए अवसरों को तलाश करेंगे। मैं आशा करता हूं कि इस 2 दिवसीय सम्मेलन के माध्यम से उत्तराखंड में निवेश व नए अवसरों को लेकर अपने विचार साझा कर सकें। सूचना क्रांति के इस दौर में उत्तराखंड राज्य ने भी लगातार प्रगति की है, चाहे वो सीएम हेल्पलाइन हो, आपदा प्रबंधन हो, फिर एकीकृत नागरिक सुविधाएं हो। मुझे आशा है कि इस कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से नए विचारों के आदान प्रदान होगा, जो हमें नीच ऊंचाई में पहुंचाने में सहायक साबित होगा। मैं इस अवसर पर आप सभी आयोजकों को अपनी तरफ से बहुत शुभकामनाएं एवं बधाई देता हूं। धन्यवाद।
Now I request session chair to continue with the session of the respected secretary, sir.
We are joined now by Mr. Rajesh Agrawal, Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, who will be addressing us on enabling a futuristic skilling ecosystem. I invite sir to address the session. We have Shri Rajesh Agrawal, Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, who has joined us to make a special address to this session on enabling a futuristic skilling ecosystem. Welcome, sir, and the floor is open, sir, for your address. In the meantime, we can continue with the question answer session. If anybody else wants to, किसी और का कोई प्रश्न हो कोई? Now, I think the connectivity issue has been resolved. We are now joined by Shri Rajesh Agrawal ji, Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, for addressing this house on enabling a futuristic skilling ecosystem. I welcome you, sir. The floor is open for your address.
Dear
one is about educational skills because I'm told a lot of people from schools and universities are there, and the audience is a bit small. In our country, we have a old tradition of honoring scientists, engineers, and thinkers, worship Brahma as the creator of life, and at the same time we worship Vishnu Karma as the creator of materials. And our Asian universities, like Takshila and Nalanda or others, they attract students, teachers, visitors from all over the globe. And they taught not only philosophy and maths, but also skills needed at that time. So we were renowned not only for intellectual skills in philosophy languages, including most scientific grammars, astronomy, etc., astronomy, and so on, but we were known for highest workmanship for textiles, metallurgy, woodwork, gems and jewelry, masonry, smart cities, sculpture, music, surgery, and so on. So best in the global standard at that. So Mohenjo-daro was first smart city by standards of that time. And we had highest global per capita and exports, per capita GDP and exports. But unfortunately, more than two centuries of British Raj, they decimated us in all these aspects, including our pride in our culture and language. So after independence, the focus was on regaining that pride in our culture, in our language, and also rebuilding the nation. So ports, powers, dams, manufacturing, all these require huge number of engineers and technicians. So IITs and ITIs came up in the 50s and 60s. So we needed not only scientists and engineers, but also industrial quality electricians, plumbers, welders, big machine workers, foundries, and so on. In the last 2 decades, the focus in jobs again shifted from manufacturing to secondary sector, IT, finance, and so on. But COVID has again showed all the nations that global supply chains can be fragile. And being Atmanirbhar or self-sufficient is necessary for all the nations. So India has now also gone for high value addition in whether it's steel manufacturing or pharma or in fab units and so on. And the PLI production linked incentive schemes are now seeing a lot of projects, lot of investments across all these sectors. So the job market has been very dynamic. So the 90s saw IT coding and PPO boom. Now we see a lot of traction in healthcare, including geriatric healthcare, because demography of the world is changing. Japan, Korea, Europe, they are becoming old, so average age is increasing too. So geriatric healthcare is becoming extremely important. Logistics has become very important. Gig economy is mainly packaging and deliveries. Tourism and hospitality, again, big pickup after the COVID is over. The aviation industry is on a boom. Fashion design, green jobs now, in solar, wind, EV, battery, hydrogen, etc. So that is where the jobs are. And when we talk of industry 4.0, we talk about AI and robotics, we talk about IoT, we talk about additive manufacturing of 3D printing of not only plastics or resin but also metals, drones, renewable energy. So industry 4.0 is a sort of combo of all these. These days, when I participate in a lot of conferences on skills and education, there's a lot of talk on 3D, the demographics, the decarbonization and digitization. The changing demographics and decarbonization, that is green jobs that I talked about a little bit. So now digital they are becoming more and more important. So soft skills like logical thinking, English language, communication skills, teamwork, EQ, these are becoming more and more important. So earlier, when we used to talk to employers or the HR agencies, that what do employees look for in a student or a potential employer? And the answer was confidence, confidence, confidence. So in schools and colleges, sometimes we focus purely on hard skills, on the subjects. The employers want confidence, confidence, confidence. And after COVID, the answer has changed quite dramatically actually. Now you talk to any employer, what do you look at the student? And they say it is ability to learn and unlearn and relearn very quickly. And an ability to adapt to new situations. So that is what should be focused in our whole educational experience. So our schools and universities and IITs and ITIs, they should produce not only job seekers but also job givers. The Honorable Prime Minister repeatedly talks about this. So creating an entrepreneurship, basic business skills or entrepreneurship attitude amongst the students, giving them exposure to world of work and business skills like procurement of raw materials, balance, marketing. So all of this is very important. So since a lot of people from education system are here, I must also talk about very little women participation in our STEM courses and practically all across the sector. Many glass ceilings still remain to be broken. When I joined IIT Delhi in 1983 in computer science, we had only one girl in our batch. After 27 years, my daughter joined in Delhi College, computer science. She was the only girl in the batch. So nothing changed over the years. So we need to dramatically change this. And this is not only true for higher level courses or even C-level positions in corporations, but even in things like tailoring, cooking, high level positions are become men. So chefs in five-star hotels, the masters in a tailor shop who is higher paid than the tailors, they are men. So we need to change all of this. So and all of us need to work together. We have more than a crore workers overseas, and apart from that, we are getting now massive offshore jobs. As I said earlier, we are becoming now much better than just BPO jobs in offshoring. Best of AR, we are AAT, and we are forming scaling great bank. So Bahubali, etc., they broke the barrier and CGI effects. Avatar 2 is launching soon. That has got special effects. Can never can be. Profit. And we have chip is time book. Out of these engineers actually work it out of India. And we are working with a lot of employers overseas and over 15 main embassies abroad on course harmonization. So global trade licenses available here and so on. And it requires basically all ITIs, IITs, NITs, regular universities, skill universities, even schooling system all to work with that. And it's actually very true that we have a digital disconnect of our education system with the job requirements. Our engineers and technicians, after spending 2 years, 4 years, they turn out to be unemployed. You talk to any employer and they say we have to basically retrain their life. They have to meet our requirements. So embedding apprenticeships, including digital supervisors and managers over engineering colleges and skill centers. Now UGC and DIC are talking of professors of practice. That you become a PhD to teach in a college, but you can be an industry pro supervisor or owner or whatever, and you are welcome to teach in our best of universities and colleges. So that's the need of the hour. And the new education policy does talk about this a little quite a bit actually. So the new LCS framework which is being designed is totally focused on this. And we all in the education system now have to walk the talk here. I am working very closely as secretary skills with secretaries of school education and higher education, with the three regulators, UGC, ICT, and NCT. So we are all working very closely together for a unified credit framework, so that across the system, credits should flow seamlessly into multiple entry options. And skills in education and education in skills, both are important. So our skilling students in ITI or diploma courses or polytechnics, they should primarily get 12th class certification or even graduation. So we have tied up with Open School and IGNOU and so many other boards. And it has to be vice versa. A student doing BA, BSc, etc., he or she should be able to get basically skill certifications in parallel. And if you have been reading the newspaper the past few days, even for early scheme, we are talking about enabling them to earn skills and education certificates while actually doing that for 4 years throughout. So a student working in industry or in army or wherever, they should also have this opportunity to parallelly learn the credits in the skills and education system. One or two more points from my side. 2-3 months ago, I virtually attended conference for education also. It was very interesting to see students and were doing well. They said the world has changed dramatically in the last 10 years, 20 years. Our education systems globally are not changing that fast. And they said our syllabus, our whole classroom design, that is being designed by 16-year-old people, 17-year-old people. And they were saying basically that you dinosaurs, you stay away from us, you mentor us, but don't prescribe basically a solution for us which was valid 50 years ago, but which is not valid for the youth of today. So we must hear the voices of the youth, and obviously we must hear the voices of the industries who have to do the jobs to the youth. And the school system, the university system, our skilling system, that has to adopt very right. The changes in syllabus, the changes in labs, the way we appoint teachers, the way we design classrooms traditionally are designed like research family. The student is possibly made to sit for 1 hour in a very classroom kind of fashion, which is not actually very conducive to a two-way communication. So those things we need to talk about very openly and bring out those changes. And the skills and education and the industry, which have been sort of three axes which are not working together. We all have to work together to produce students who are actually job ready when they come out. And again, which do not bind them to just one line of career for the next 30, 40 years, but we provide them pathways to basically keep on learning new things, keep on changing jobs, and then ultimately finding jobs which fit their passion and their abilities. So my best wishes to all, and let's all work together to build a new India and a new world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us and giving us your very valuable inputs and your vision about how the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, wants to take the nation forward in the field while implementing the new education policy. Sir has particularly, in a nutshell, just be brief. Sir, in a nutshell, has emphasized the need for skilling with respect to the new education policy, so that our future generation of students are not just job seekers, but they become employment creators, employment generators. Sir has also focused on the issue of employability with respect to the skills which need to be imparted to the students for the new emerging and the latest technologies which are useful for the industry in the present as well as in the future. Sir has also laid a lot of stress on taking care of gender equity and gender equality as well as opportunity for all while we take the nation forward while creating skills for the coming generations, as well as he has also laid stress on creation of recognized and valid certification for employability, which is useful in the industry. So, sir, I thank you very much again, sir, for joining us and giving us your valuable input. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
As Brijesh Pandit, we try to see if we can request Mr. Brijesh Pandit to join us. In the meantime, if anybody else has any questions, you can please continue with the question session. Otherwise, we'll close the session. Brijesh, join. Brijesh, just give me fast because we are already आप किसके बारे में बात कर हाँ ठीक है सीधे ना Just joining. We just speak for 5 minutes. We'll join. I think they have overshot for about 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Welcome, Brijesh. Welcome, and the floor is open for you to address the session. Brijesh, can you hear us?
Ravi, can you hear me? Hi, dear friends. I'm supposed to speak on technology, but unfortunately, technology disabled me from hearing you guys. Anyway, it's a really great matter of great pleasure for me to speak in this India Transformation Summit being held in Dehradun. And I can see the enthusiasm and excitement even on virtual mode. Friends, it was way back in 1948 when India was an infant in the League of Independent Nations that the United Nations declared access to education as a human right. Since then, India has made tremendous progress. Yet, an estimated 60 lakh children in India are still out of school, and this number is almost half of the population of Uttarakhand. And what about those children attending regular schools? As per the National Achievement Survey, every one out of two children is below the grade appropriate learning levels. And unfortunately, the worst place month or years stay. Friends, I believe that depriving quality education to a child is no less than the wrong effect of his future and throwing him into a world of darkness and disparity. And if 50 years back, technology could enable us to reach to the moon,
I don't understand. We come today. We reach to every child in every village, in every country using this technology. Friends, inspired by the National Education Policy goal of providing high quality education to all, JIPRA has ventured on its most ambitious project, Mission 100 Vidya Jyoti schools to create 100 islands of excellence across the state. And Mission 100 will be a dream come true for children aspiring for a 21st century high quality holistic education. The transformation of existing 100 schools into Vidya Jyoti school is being done on threefold strategy of augmenting infrastructure, igniting minds, and growing children. And the tech innovation in education is the bedrock of this effort, which has enabled my state government in empowering every child equitable quality education. And state government is investing almost about 500 crore over next 3 years for development of both soft and hard infrastructure to cover one-sixth of the school-going children in the state. We are using innovations in EdTech in these schools to help them with tinkering labs, ICT labs, and vocational labs, focusing on child-specific needs. And some of these tech interventions are setting up of 56 tinkering labs and two artificial intelligence labs of Intel, with one AI lab being first in the whole of Northeast, setting up of 312 ICT infrastructure labs, and with another 290 coming up to provide computer-aided learning and timely self-assessment for children, setting up of 163 smart classrooms in the world. Friends, our EdTech interventions, if implemented without much thought, can increase disparities between children and create haves and have-nots. However, we are conscious of these facts and therefore using these innovations for an equitable and inclusive education. For example, we are providing tablets with content designed for specific disability, games for hearing disabled and ADHD students. We have audio book for blind children. This way we could reach out to about 3,800 children with special needs under the flagship project of Saksham Tripura. And we are setting up digital libraries in 300 schools where take-home tablets with video recorded classes and worksheets are being provided to students for home-based learning so that lack of power and internet connectivity is no longer a barrier. Most importantly, we are in the process of developing a system which assesses child-specific needs, prompts teacher with graded learning interventions to attain learning outcomes for children. In addition, we are also exploring the option of providing virtual classes for career guidance to children and setting up learning management software for all classes up to grade 12. However, despite these efforts, I'll admit that there are still areas where we haven't succeeded in making best use of edtech, like management of schools, teachers, training, and efficient utilization of limited resources. And actually, we look forward for tech innovations in these sectors by young entrepreneurs in the areas of school administration, like teachers training, and especially assessment of result framework for assessing our value for money. Friends, you might have seen that the world is today seeing a brutal war on Ukraine with people fighting with their best weapons. Yes, yes, we do want to fight a war, however, not against people, but against hurdles to education. And our war, innovative edtechs are going to be our best weapons, which can prevent many more children from entering into a world of darkness and disparity, and to take them into a world of hope and prosperity. I am sure this transformation summit will throw open many emerging opportunities and help realize Uttarakhand's potential to become the sunrise state of 21st century India. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brijesh. Thank you very much for throwing light on the initiatives which are being taken by the government of Tripura and also raising the issues which are faced by government of Tripura, which are very similar to those faced in Uttarakhand because of the kind of remoteness that both the states share and the difficult terrain that both the states share. I again thank you very much for joining the session and throwing your valuable inputs. and enriching this session. Thank you very much, Nilesh. I think because we have already run out of time, so I would once again take this opportunity to thank the delegates of the dais who have enriched this session, and also all the delegates who have participated in this session and raised some important issues or questions. Uh, I also once again take this opportunity to thank the organizers, Elets Techno Media, as well as the IT department of the government of Uttarakhand, particularly Dr. Ashish Srivastava for taking special interest in organizing this particular event. And also all the participants from the various departments and various governments, state governments who have come and participated, as well as from the industry who have come and participated in this session. Thank you once again. And while you are here, I request you to enjoy Dehradun. If possible, I think today evening some Aarti session is being organized, so we can all go to Rishikesh and have a good time in Uttarakhand. Thank you very much.